I am living in the moonlight, and I live my life this way. Now I'm older, I can see nothing more to say.
It was about time to put some ideas on paper again. A few of those stray thoughts that I really need to write down because they differ so much from some other ideas people sometimes have, and I'm afraid of forgetting them. Lately, I've been watching a lot of television and then storing all that information in my memory chip, so I can later combine all those things into new ideas. Because I want to write down so many things that are simultaneously running through my brain, I'm frustrated that I can't type fast enough. But I fear that even the fastest typist wouldn't be able to keep up with my ideas. I've always said I wanted to be a writer, and damn it, I will be. The problem has always been finding a subject, so I spent a long time thinking about an idea, which took up a lot of time. Funny enough, I did indeed find a subject to write about. It looks nothing like this story, but has also never been thought of before and could make a beautiful movie with a good director. It's also a story about good and evil. How do you get a mass of people moving peacefully? Will they ever realize that all the people who send others to war under any flag are the real mass murderers? And shouldn't they be tried by a world tribunal and sentenced to a punishment that I think would work? They should be shown in their prison that the world can change without their input. A world where every citizen provides DNA, all stored in a large database, so that we can help identify the real murderers and many sick people by researching why they exhibit such behavior and how to prevent it. First, by reconnecting the youth with their caregivers, by paying for housework and seeing it as a necessary evil for a healthy society. No more misfits placed on the sidelines as they currently feel, but normal, fully fledged children who now miss familial bonds due to a lack of money. Only when you have enough money can you decide what you do, but often in that period, you have no time for children. There are people who earn their living through hard work and do it very well, but can't find time for their children due to that hard work. But I've seen the light, and now I know what I need to write about. I want to try to write the best book in the world because I've always said, when you want to do something, you should do it well. I always want to win. I can't stand losing, and that shows in my character. Always contrary and always having a retort. One of the few people who understands what Johan Cruyff means and whom I'd like to meet one day in my life. He is one of the few other people, like the murdered Pim Fortuyn, who knows what the people need and understands the people. When you, like him, place an entire nation, the Catalans in this case, on the world map, you've done better than a queen who rules over the people from her ivory tower, hoping that such Robin Hoods and people's champions don't gain too much ground. Otherwise, the people would see the truth, that the royal family is among the most powerful people in the world. That secret group of people who regulate the New World Order, the real fascists. As I sit typing this, I get chills because I know what I have to do. At this moment, I am the happiest man in the world. I have to write down my ideas. I've searched for the truth for a long time, the difference between good and evil, and why God both exists and does not exist. My theory about this is, to my knowledge, unknown but is, to me, the easiest way to believe in something. And very good for my peace of mind and mental well-being. That is indeed a God, but not the one most people envision. I will elaborate on this later. But now I want to put all my theories and ideas on paper to let people judge whether I am truly such a fool who thinks he knows everything better. Or am I indeed way ahead of my time? Worse still, am I unnecessarily worried? And why is this so strongly present in me that I can't stop thinking about and engaging with these matters? Do I care too much about the fate of my fellow humans? Is this only reserved for people with an academic education or those born and living in, let's say, intellectual circles? Can and may a simple mind call themselves a philosopher? Do you need to have studied for that? What makes people like Socrates and all other wise men so exceptional, and is the era they lived in a determining factor? Look, I can imagine that some life wisdom and theories are extremely suitable to be applied to this society, but they often originate from another culture and past. History repeats itself, that's certain, but wouldn't it be better to become more open-minded? Everything is interconnected in some way, and that whole, in my eyes, is a perpetual motion machine. I think this is because everything constantly repeats itself, just in a different guise or color, but it keeps coming back. And history repeats itself, so that you, like the alphabet, have to start over again. Histoire se répète, or something like that. How many times has it been claimed that earlier civilizations lived before us and then disappeared for some reason, like natural disasters and such, wars, Atlantis? And instead of learning from that, even if it's just a fantasy, it might still be true. Television shows that it's possible. I saw a dinosaur in the movie Jurassic Park, and because it was on film, it seemed very lifelike to me. If I didn't know better, I could believe that those creatures really existed. Emphasis on believe. Nowadays, so much beauty can be created through virtual reality that we can no longer distinguish between real and unreal. Advertisements are manipulated, all to give us that kick, that addictive drug called consumption. With each new product, another shot is added, and at some point, it ends in an overdose. Then the string snaps, and you end up right where they ultimately want you, at the bottom of the chain. If the commercials have the effect they are supposed to have, namely prompting you to buy the advertised products, can you imagine what effect all those children's movies have on our kids? And instead of abusing that power, you can teach children to interact differently with each other through positive things like a youth news program. When you see this, you can imagine that manipulating children is not that difficult. Fortunately, overkill is also a favorable development. Look at the many fashion developments that ensure people increasingly wear what they like, rather than what the fashion world wants us to buy. That's the direction it should go. Freedom in clothing, appearance, and speech. Children definitely realize that the basis for racism is also being laid here. They quietly realize that they are only target groups for greedy producers. They very well understand that they are being raised as uniform sausages and rebel against this society in their way. Violence begets violence, and dialogue begets dialogue. This is one of the lessons we know from history. When you are interested in other cultures, you always start with the language. When you understand it, you can communicate. And then you come to the conclusion that every language starts with ABC: acceptance, understanding, communication. Wouldn't it be nice if in every world language, those three words could stand for the same meaning? The beginning of a world language. A well-raised youth who really knows the difference between good and evil, but now has to learn it the hard way. The law of the jungle. Figure it out yourself. This results in a youth that thinks differently than the older generation and is more inclined to quickly understand something that seems like a fantastic story. I want to write much more about this, but I'll stop for now. Tomorrow is another day.
All the memories of my childhood, they will never fade away. Now I'm older, I can see they have taught me how to play.